Welcome to our presentation. It's titled Exclusion from Constructive Alignment, and we believe this is something that's been unmasked by emergency remote teaching. My name is Thinus, and my co-author is Dr. Karin, Wolff, and we're both from Stellenbosch University in South Africa. Right at the southern tip of Africa, we are a research-intensive higher education institution, and we follow a feedback, feed-forward, and holistic approach to the recommended engineering education practices. So in a different paper at a different conference, we describe a survey that we did during ERT just to demonstrate the impact that this has had on students. And one of the aspects is self-efficacy. And in this paper specifically, we focus on electrical and electronic engineering students who are in their second year. And the module that we used to do this experiment is a design module. So the biggest and foremost question that we came up with is, how can we improve students' self-efficacy? Now, you will know that constructive alignment asks the what and the how of teaching. So very specifically, its question is, what are the objectives and what is an appropriate how in teaching? So what we realized during ERT is that a lot of feedback is lost. Lecturers don't get the feedback that they normally will in in-person scenarios, and that leads to misperceptions of performance. That whole problem highlighted that there's a missing feedback that we need to consider when we look at constructive alignment, and that really speaks to Vygotsky's zone of proximal development. So where are the students? What do they understand before they enter the classroom? The next question that we then ask is, how well do students gauge their own performance, especially after the 2020 emergency remote teaching? And as we all know, educators use artifact to teach. And then in-person feedback is usually used to moderate. The next question that we ask, and that we'll show in this paper, is how to improve the teaching by using the students themselves as teaching artifacts. What we did in this study was to use 4 longitudinal surveys, and these were taken around assessments, the first written assessment they wrote after the 2020 lockdowns, and we measured whether the students were able to self-estimate their performance of that assessment. So that's the survey 1 that you see at the bottom there. Then we gave out a memorandum or a model answer sheet in a video, and then we asked them survey 2, and then after that we sent out the marks followed by a survey 3. After that, we did an intervention, and this intervention has some characteristics of a flipped classroom, but it's really a flipped tutorial or a flipped practical. We would have the students present their screens, not ours. We won't talk through a problem. We'll ask the students to present their proposed solution that they can't get working, and then we'll ask them questions and nudge them while their screen is on, and while all the other students are learning, we would work through the problem without giving the answer away. We had another assessment, so this is our exam, and then we had another survey to check whether the students are now better at measuring their own performance. On the left-hand side here, I'm showing the results for 2019. You can see we've got a median of 56, a very typical distribution. Then immediately after writing, so this is the first written exam after ERT, you can see the students thought that they were going to get a very typical distribution. However, after we showed them the memo, they suddenly realized they got it wrong, and they down-modulated their results or their guesses to a 40 median. However, the actual marks were much lower. The median mark was 33, and the average was actually 34. And as you can see, this was really bad performance, a horrible misalignment between how they performed and how they thought they performed. Immediately after writing, we asked them, did the online lectures prepared me sufficient? But as you can see, 2/3 of students, just under 70%, said yes, it prepared them well. And then we asked them, was the paper difficult? And 2/3 said yes, it's difficult. Then after the memorandum was sent out, we asked them again, and was the paper difficult? Suddenly, it dropped down to just under 60%. After that, we sent out the mark. 45% of the students said yes. But what is also interesting is that suddenly 74% of students said this paper was difficult after the marks were sent out. Then we did the intervention. Then they wrote the second assessment. And this second assessment was the guesses that they had was a median of 60, and you can see the distribution. They were expecting still quite high marks, but now the actual marks weren't nearly as far away as the previous ones. When we asked them, did the online lectures prepare us sufficiently, you can see 81% of students suddenly thought this definitely did prepare us sufficiently for the exam. So this speaks to a bigger picture that we're working towards. On the right-hand side, you can see the old traditional constructive alignment framework, but it completely ignores the aspect of feedback in the classroom and about a lecturer adjusting his approach, adjusting the content, thinking about where the students are in their point of development. Thanks very much.